Welcome to week 4 in 2022, the year we learned to listen to love. I'm Janet Connor, prayer artist, mystic witch, mistress of the thresholds, producer and director in the theater of the miraculous. And this is my darling Hildemore of Weird. I accidentally said or blurted out yesterday while talking to friends that she's my familiar, and she said, "Oh no, honey, you're my familiar." And she kind of insists now. Look at her. Is she not the sweetest thing and the wisest thing? So, Hildemore would like to read to you the newsletter, the Notes from the Field, that came out last Sunday, week 4, in the year we learned to listen to love. So what happens in week 4? Oh, we discover the radical paradox in Free Your Voice that's hiding right there in plain sight. Maybe you noticed it. I didn't, which is why I wrote this newsletter. So friends, soul writers, mystics, and lovers of prayer, the first intensive for 2022 is about to open. It is called Free Your Voice. And you might think that because I'm the one offering it, I'm the one putting it on my website, I'm the one writing the landing page, I'm the one describing it, I'm the one inviting you to come, why, you might think that I actually know what it's about, and you would be wrong. Yes, you would be so very wrong. And that's a good thing. I think that's a really good thing. So, I learned what Free Your Voice is really all about in the pre-dawn dark last Friday morning. Now, in order to understand this, you need to see that this is how Janet goes to bed. I have Hildemore next to me. She sleeps on a silk pillow with the amulet of the female trinity, she who was, she who is, she who ever shall be, in a little leather pouch on her back. So she's arm's reach to my left, and in arm's reach to my right is always this, a pad of paper. I have to have a pad of paper because I am awakened so often in the middle of the night, and that's exactly what happened on Friday. So I had this feeling. It's hard to describe. I just know something wants to be spoken, something wants to be written, something wants to come through. And so I simply reach out and grab that pad. I was surprised at what came through and the beauty and the clarity of the language. And because I haven't typed the whole thing up yet, you get to see it. This is what it looked like. 2 pages of this tiny, this is my middle of the night chicken scratch writing. It's hard to read. And sometimes there are words I can't read. Can you see it? And then I rewrite it in my journal the next morning, go over it in deep soul writing, and eventually type it up. I still have a lot to type up here. So, I'm writing it all down. I'm flabbergasted at the beauty and the clarity and the profundity of the message, of the words, and I'm also laughing. I'm laughing. How could I have missed this? How could I have missed the paradox of Free Your Voice hiding right there in the title, in plain sight? Now, it's important to understand that we have experienced transformation, profound transformation, in all of my prayer intensives, from the very first one in April of 2018 with Kahulahela on the ancient shamanic Hawaiian prayer practice of forgiveness. After that one, I began to slowly, and I do mean slowly, kind of just feel my way into the radical difference between a prayer intensive and a course. Now, I know how to teach a course. I had taught courses connected with my books on deep soul writing, soul vows, soul purpose for 10 years. And I had complete confidence in my ability to guide people joining my courses to activate their own extraordinary voice within, to discover and begin to live their own soul vows, to find their sacred medicine, their soul purpose. But when prayer artist landed, and you know how it landed exactly like this. I felt something, I reached out in the dark and wrote the words prayer artist. Yeah, I've written about how prayer artist changed everything many, many times. So when prayer artist landed in this body, it was clear immediately that I was to stop teaching my courses and start offering prayer intensives. The only problem was I did not know what a prayer intensive was, and no one else did either, because no one had offered anything like these prayer intensives. So it was the prayer intensives themselves that taught me how to gather a community into a whole new experience, an embodiment of radical pre-patriarchal and post-patriarchal prayer practices. You try to say that. Pre-patriarchal and post-patriarchal radical prayer practices. I'm getting better at it. She's helping me. She can say it easily. So, all I can confirm for sure is that whatever prayer intensives are, they work. Over 2,000 of you have joined me since that first one in 2018. And we have explored the mystical wonders of radical pre-patriarchal prayer practices like the ancient goddess rosary, the labyrinth, the tree of life, and so many more. And each one was different, and each one taught me more and more about what a prayer intensive is. And each one I see now was a step on the path to a prayer intensive that got so big it really morphed into a pilgrimage, a 13-week pilgrimage last summer that transcended time and space. Now, there were a bunch of things that happened in the Return of the Witches, and of course, Hildemore was there for the entire thing. Are you the reason? You're the reason that all of this happened. She and Joan. Yeah. One thing that happened, and I told the story 2 weeks ago in week 2, make sure you listen or read that intensive, when Aubrey, this beautiful young woman in Hawaii, realized in the first week with Queen Jezebel on the pilgrimage that she had an epigenetic memory of being strangled as a witch lifetimes ago by a husband she loved. And that epigenetic memory was still sitting in her body and causing her to silence herself. That was the seed that became Free Your Voice. Many miraculous things happened, but a big one that is important to all of these prayer intensives and the evolution of prayer intensives is that about halfway through, I had this shocking realization that I'm the producer and director, not just of the prayer intensives, but of the prayer intensives in the theater of the miraculous. So my job as the producer and director in the theater of the miraculous is to invite you into the theater where miracles happen, not because of anything I or any of my co-teachers say or do, but because you, the members of the community gathering in the theater of the miraculous for a particular experience, in this case for your voice, you are both an individual sacred container and a community sacred container for the beloved, the mystery, the goddess by any and all her names. It's she who is inviting you to come. It's she knocking on the door of your heart. It's she who is really creating this alchemical transformation in the intensive. So I always open my intensives, sort of drawing the curtains open at the theater of the miraculous, with these words that were given to me just a couple weeks after prayer artists landed in my body. Words that really hold the paradox of prayer and the paradox of all my prayer intensives. These words really define what a prayer intensive is. And the words are, you are not praying, you are being prayed. Let that sit in your body. You are not praying, you are being prayed. Now, no one, including me, well, not Hilda Moore, she understands it, but none of the rest of us really understand this paradox. That's why it is a paradox. But even as I relinquish the need to comprehend it, I still know it's true. I know it's true. This is the truth about prayer. This is the truth about the magical presence of the beloved in all of our intensives. I love this paradox. You are not praying, you are being prayed. It is, I sense, the greatest gift I have ever been given as a prayer artist, and it is one I know I will be exploring for the rest of my life. Even so, even after saying you are not praying, you are being prayed, opening every one of my intensives since the Return of the Witch's pilgrimage, even so, I had not connected the dots between this profound paradox and the intensive called Free Your Voice. So, my beloved woke me up in the wee hours on Friday and dictated the depth of this radical paradox in Free Your Voice. Now, Cameron Alteris and I had planned the content of 4 weeks of this intensive, right? We are going to explore freeing our physical voice with voice coach, voice teacher, Charlotte Knopfsinger in week 1, and then truth voice and ancestral voice, and finally freeing our creative voice. So the paradox is right there. It's right there. It's right in front of you right now, and it's always been in front of me, but I did not see it. So here it is. Here is what I was dictated in the middle of the night. You are not freeing your physical voice. Your physical voice is freeing you. You are not freeing your truth voice. Your truth voice is freeing you. You are not freeing your ancestral voice. The voice of your ancestors are freeing you. And you are not freeing your creative voice. This is what I think all the creativity courses out there miss. You are not freeing your creativity voice. Your creativity voice is freeing you. I know this isn't logical or linear or even comprehensible. And I know you've never been taught this because no patriarchal religion or patriarchal structure or linear course is capable of even considering this deep twist, this sacred drop into the way life really works. But my co-teachers get it. Charlotte Knopfsinger and Cameron Alteris. They get it because they've lived it. Consider Charlotte Knopfsinger, who will help us free our physical voice in our first gathering. Now, Charlotte grew up in a very conservative Canadian Mennonite community where women were expected to be silent, obedient, subservient. Women were not to go to college. They were not to draw attention to themselves or even have their photograph taken. So, you might want to ask yourself, how? Let me show you this. How did it happen? There's Charlotte in a pretty, fabulous photograph as a classical opera singer, right? How did this happen? Hold on a second, I gotta get my newsletter back to read it to you. So how did it happen? How in the world did Charla become a classical singer on international stages? How did she become a renowned vocal coach? How did she become a voice teacher at a famous New York college for the arts training opera singers and Broadway stars? How did she become the go-to voice teacher for people who've lost their ability to sing? And of the greatest importance, how did she heal her own voice after it was so severely damaged? And what did she discover in the course of that healing about the direct connection between unprocessed, unexpressed emotions and constrictions in your vocal cords? And what simple and fun exercises that we are going to be doing together can free your voice? Well, I asked Charla if she would like to speak directly to you. And she sent a long, lovely document that's going to be a special gift, a bonus. But here are just 2 paragraphs from it that moved me deeply, so I thought you'd like to hear them too. This is Charla speaking. As children, our imaginations and inhibitions allow us tremendous freedom in expression. We sing and dance and paint, and our hearts are full until someone points out that we're out of tune, have 2 left feet, and the lines are blurry. Or if you're like me, that you're coloring outside the lines. Weren't we all told that, right? Well, we have learned awareness of our limits, or really, we should say that our teachers, the patriarchs, have taught us the limits to our creativity. Society teaches us to speak in turn, to behave appropriately, especially women, right? Maintain the status quo. And one day we wake up and we're not sure who we really are anymore. The freedom to speak our truth is measured by the effect it has on others. And our voices retreat inward. Each of us does have our own unique, authentic voice, and finding that voice and freeing it from unwanted or misplaced tension is a process that has the potential to release buried emotion. The process of release can be liberating and frightening at the same time. This process brings me, this is Charla speaking, brings me tremendous joy and reward every day in my voice studio, and reminds me there is always so much more to learn, so much more to discover. And I would like to show you a picture of her in her studio. Let me see if I can get that over so that you can see her. There she is, teaching at the art college. And that's exactly what she's going to be doing with us. She'll be sitting at her piano and helping us free our voices. Not that we have to be musicians, not that we have to be singers. No, everyone benefits from freeing your voice. So, I realized as I was finishing this newsletter, there is no prayer intensive in the world with a guest appearance by a classical singer and New York Broadway voice coach. But that's how things unfold in the theater of the miraculous. So I do hope, Hildemore and I, that you will join Charla Knopfsinger, Cameron Alteris, and Kaulahela, who's going to help us remove all that epigenetic residue so that we can free our voices from who knows what ancient, old, patriarchal constrictions have been placed on it. Free Your Voice is just now opening, and you can click on the link below and join us anytime because everything is recorded. Do you have any final words, Hildemore? I think it's she who dictates these things in the middle of the night. Sing, beloveds, sing. Sing your holy, holy voice. Love you, Hildemore, and love you, Thank you for joining Hildemore and me in this now fourth YouTube experience of my newsletters for 2022. It would be very sweet of you to click, you know how the YouTube game is played, click thumbs up, subscribe if you want to get a notification of when these are for you. You click on that little bell thing and invite your friends to come and meet Hildemore and hear the notes from the field. And I'll see you soon in the theater of the miraculous.